Welcome to this Looker configuration guide, how to configure pull requests. In this video, we'll guide you through the process of configuring Git and pull request in your Looker project. This will ensure that any changes are reviewed before they are merged into your production environment. Remember to have development mode activated and have the necessary permissions to change project settings. First, let's create a new project. You can follow this process with your own project, but we'll create a new one just in case you missed anything. We'll name this project Looker Pull Requests, and we'll use a previous database schema as a starting point for our model generation. As mentioned previously, you can use your own project. Just be sure that you have the necessary permissions assigned, otherwise you won't be able to follow this tutorial. Now, as we can see, we already have available some models, views, and the README file. But before we do anything, we'll need our Git repository and our token. So let's open a new tab with GitHub, and for the sake of this tutorial, let's create a new repository. Let's name it Looker Pull Requests, so we don't mix it up with another project. Awesome, but don't forget that Looker won't let us link our repository without a personal access token. If you have one already, great. If not, I'll do a quick tutorial. First, let's go to our profile settings. Then we'll click on Developer Settings, Personal Access Tokens, and click on the Classic option. Then we'll generate a new token using the Classic option. For this project, we'll name it Looker. Feel free to explore and experiment with all the different options GitHub offers for their personal access tokens. But for this tutorial, we'll only need to check the repo checkbox. Don't forget to copy your tokens somewhere safe and that you can easily remember. Don't close the tab with your repository, as we'll need to link the repo to our project. So now that we have our personal access token, let's go back to Looker and link our project. To do that, let's click on Configure Git, and it'll ask us for a repo's URL. So let's go to the previous tab and copy it. Good thing we created our personal access token beforehand. So now just copy and paste your token as well to finalize linking our project to our repo. But what if we don't want to use personal access tokens? We can also do it using SSH keys. To do that, instead of using the HTTPS URL as the repository URL, we'll be using the SSH URL, or the one that starts with git@github. So just copy and paste it, and Looker will then provide an SSH key, so be sure to save it somewhere safe. To make things easier, after providing your SSH URL and copying your deploy key, click on the link that says Deploy Key Settings for your repository, as it will take you directly to your repository settings. Then we'll need to create a new SSH key. All we need to do is click on Add Deploy Key, copy our key, give it a title, and make sure to allow write access before adding the key. And finally, we test our setup to make sure everything works as expected. And just like that, we have now configured Git within our Looker project. To confirm this, let's go to our repo and refresh the page. As we can see, we have one commit on the master branch. If we open it, we'll notice that it's empty. That's because we haven't really uploaded anything from our project, and we have simply just made the connection with it. Even if we check my personal branch, it only has the initial commit and a merge branch commit, so we'll need to go back to our Looker project. We'll not change anything yet because we didn't push the initial content of a repo. So let's validate our LookML, commit the changes, push them to our repo, and finally deploy them. We are able to do this because we haven't set any rules and we're not requiring developers to make pull requests before deploying to production. This is only to emphasize why it's important to require or at least recommend pull requests in our Looker projects. As we can see, our project's code is now synced with our Git repository. But we don't want it to be that simple in bigger projects, because when more people work on the same code, someone might accidentally deploy broken code, conflicting changes, or other nightmares. It would be very beneficial if other developers had to review the code before deploying it. To change that, let's go to our project settings. As you can see, we didn't have any GitHub integrations active. With the Show Links option, Looker will provide external links that will allow developers to view the project in the Git providers interface. With the Pull Request Recommended option, in addition to providing the external links, Looker will also give developers the option to submit a pull request so that other developers can approve the changes before adding them to a project. And finally, the Pull Request Required option. It's the same as the Pull Request Recommended option, except that this time, developers are required to open a pull request to submit changes to the project. Feel free to experiment with the different options available. For this tutorial, we'll be using Pull Request Recommendations, as it's the most common and flexible option. So now let's confirm our changes by editing the README file and try deploying the changes to production. For this tutorial, we don't need to do any major changes, so a simple addition to the title will do. Your project could include changes from several models or views, but the process will end up looking the same. As you can see, in this case, we're only changing README to README test. We save the changes, validate the LookML, commit the changes, and we'll just name it commit number 2. But now we get the option to open a pull request. So let's click on it and create our pull request. In this particular situation, the changes were so small that there were no conflicts. But when you work with a team, you will prevent deploying conflicting changes to production by creating these pull requests. As we can see, the master branch remained the same because nobody has approved the pull request and merged the changes. If we explore the commit history, we'll notice that the most recent commit is commit number 1. So let's go back to the pull request tab and go to commit number 2. Depending on your needs, you could add specific rules that require a specific developer to approve changes or automate different parts of this process. But for this tutorial, we'll only merge the pull request. We confirm the merge, and it's done. Our pull request has now been approved and merged into the master branch. Now, if we go back to our Looker project and refresh the page, we'll see an option to pull from production. In this case, we'll be pulling the same changes we just made, but in the real world, you'll most likely be pulling changes made by other developers from your team. And that's it! You've successfully configured pull requests for your Looker project. Pull requests are crucial for keeping your project organized and preventing conflicts during code deployment. If you need help managing your Looker instance, look no further. We are a full-service Looker consulting firm. We partner with Looker to help businesses maximize their analytics capabilities. We would be happy to meet with you to discuss your current Looker objectives and help you implement them. You could use the link below to connect with us. Until next time!